Where do you see it going actually with the future of the Tory party? I mean, I've got this prediction because I like to make bold predictions and I want to just get the tweet so that people know that I predicted it, that Farage will lead. Here's what I'm saying. Tories get smashed with Sunak. Starmer ruins the country for 5 years. Farage becomes leader and becomes prime minister with the Tories in 2029. This is my bold prediction. But where do you see it going? And do you see Farage coming into Tories, or do you see a third party like Reform making an impact? What's your opinion?
The Tories have to be wiped out next year. Have to be. And I say that for their own good. The Tories and Labour, whoever's in 10 Downing Street, are taking us to the same destination, which is destruction. The Tories are taking decades to get us there. Labour will do it a lot shorter. So we're heading in the same direction, to the same destination. So we need to destroy the Tories, the next general election. So like you, they spend 5 years in opposition, sorting themselves out, getting rid of all the wets. Half the Tory MPs at the moment wouldn't have been Tory MPs 20, 30 years ago. They'd have been Blairites, they'd have been Lib Dems, but they've watered down what it is to be a Tory so much that anyone can join the Tories now. And that's what's killed them. It started many years ago, but Cameron becoming Prime Minister, becoming the leader of the Tories, was the final nail in their coffin. He woketified the party. So hopefully they'll spend 5 years in opposition. They'll steal lots of my policies. They're happy to have them because this is what the people want. And then Labour will destroy it even more. And maybe then in 5 years' time, 2029, like you said, they may have another chance of getting back into power. Will Farage come? Will Farage join? Will they let Farage join? And if he joined, would he be leader? He's potentially the type of leader they need, but political parties are very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very cliquey. I'm not sure they'd let him join. I'm not sure they'd want him in. I really don't know. But I'm hoping by that time we'll have new Tories coming through, new leaders coming through who are proper leaders, and one of them will capture the nation's attention, and someone like that will come through and lead the Tory party to success. But time will tell. Will a third party break through? We have these conversations every 10 years. It never happens. But what small parties can do is influence the big parties. So if a small party has a really popular policy, the big parties will steal it. UKIP forced the Tories into a referendum they never wanted. So these small parties can have a say and are really, really important to change the direction of the big parties. But I realise I'm quite poor at making predictions. I really am quite poor.
Well, it doesn't really go well for anyone, but I just make it just in case it's right. I've got the tweet. But is Britain behind Europe is another question I was going to ask you, because you allude to the fact there that all a third party can do in this country is influence the main two parties. And of course, that's because of first past the post. In Europe, they have proportional representation. It's quite different. And what we're seeing now is people like Geert Wilders in the Netherlands. We're seeing some pretty, what would you call him, pretty populist right people coming through. He's got some very tough stances. I mean, his stuff on Islam has been extremely tough. He's toned it down a little bit. And what we have is arguably, as I was saying in an earlier podcast with Ed Dutton, it's the polarization of the left and right is probably what's happening in Europe, and no center anymore. And we seem to be a bit behind. And I've been asking people why they think this is. Proportional representation is an obvious one. We're just a bit different in general. We're a bit less hardcore in this country about a lot of things. We don't have borders. We're an island. We're a bit more moderate than Europe in many ways. We don't have the history of fascism and communism. We have a history of fighting fascism. So we don't tend to be comfortable with the sort of anything that sounds far right or anything. What do you think is going to happen? Are we going to move more like Europe? Are we going to be different because of our system? Any thoughts?
We're going to be different. You're quite right. We've never had the hard left or the hard right in this country because we're sensible people and we have a political system that works over the long term. I'm not really for proportional representation at the moment. I can't see the benefits. I think all that does is it gives power to the fringe elements in society. It gives more power to those fringe elements who can sway elections. We need to govern countries for the long term, not the short term. Otherwise, we're swinging from far left to far right to far left to far right. and we need to be planning for the future. That doesn't mean our system's perfect. There is no perfect political system out there. I've just got a little bit of British pride in our system when I look across the water to Europe, thinking, do I want any of their systems based on their history? Do I want any of their systems? And the answer is no. So I'm quite happy sticking with our system at the moment. Doesn't mean it doesn't need tweaks. It doesn't mean we don't need better leaders. But I think if we have better leaders, our system will work a lot better.
Yeah, we definitely need better leaders. I mean, Dominic Cummings was talking about our leaders are sort of trapped in the Cold War to 2001 era. He was talking about Cold War to 9/11. He said they all want to live in that era when things were just better and more free. And they were, but we're not in that era anymore. And we just don't have the leaders we need for it. And we also have the civil service making everything near impossible. And if you listen to someone like Cummings, who's been on the inside, he says even a leader of a department can only sack 3 people. And that's all they can do. And they can't really do anything about the blob. And the prime minister has power to sack them, but it's unfeasible that a prime minister will be able to sack everyone in all these departments practically. So he just says it's just a bureaucratic nightmare system. And the young people who actually have talent tend to leave because they don't get promoted and they don't see a meritocracy.